All right, so the question is, what's real? So, our bodies are real. We interact with the real world. That's our best sense that we are in a real world and not a simulation, is that the feedback from our bodies is so good. The visuals are excellent and tactile, and you push on things, right? And they're still there, right? Yeah, that's the special test, right? Is are things hard? Am I here, right? Um, so I think our bodies want to feel good. Like there's all this stuff about like the exercise cure, and it's like turns out sitting in a desk all day in an office is not what we should be doing. So I'm sitting on a yoga ball, but I'm still at a desk. So I am going to hop on my bike and go run around and all that kind of stuff because our bodies feel good doing a minimal, medium amount of work every day, sort of interspersed with what we should be doing. So chasing down wildebeests or farming a small truck garden, these are like motions that you can do. But maybe like picking fields all day is not what our bodies want to be doing. We want to go out and get a couple cocoa beans in the morning and coffee beans in the morning, get the leaves and this and that and get things going, and then maybe do some farming, maybe hang out with the animals and other people, and fire. Evening time we're gonna have a fire, and someone's gonna build a fire, and then we're gonna do some drumming and shit, and then someone's gonna watch out for the fucking lions, and all night, and then storytellers, and so that's what our bodies want to be doing. We want to be fucking, we want to be dancing, we want to be exercising. Like, we don't call it exercise, we call it chasing each other or running away from lions and shit, right? That's what our bodies feel good at doing. And we can do that for a large number of years. Sitting, even on a yoga ball, at a desk, at a job, is probably not what our bodies want to be doing. So that's I think thing number one is that we have to engage our brains into our bodies. So the best, I'm taking tennis right now. So the tennis players don't think. By the time you think, the ball's already right. So don't think, right? And like while you're serving, no thinking, right? And musicians, I'm singer, so all musical training is they're like, oh, don't think. Just do. Practice a bunch so that when you do, you have various ways to do it, but you know which ones feel good and which ones are going to feel good in the right moment, and then you're going to do it. But there's no thinking. Even in improvisation where you're like, hey, this would be kind of a good idea. The best ideas come when your body sort of takes off in that direction anyway, and you're like, oh, I'm in F flat major 7, yes, and it's like, well, why did you go there? I don't know, because it felt like that would be a hip spot to go to. So I think our bodies we want to engage our brains in such a way that our brains are happy with the body just doing a lot. There's a lot of motor neurons and sensors and stuff coming back into the brain, so the brain's going to be full doing sports, fucking, playing music, dancing, right? There's a lot of motor, and you don't even really have to think. So then the question is, we have to get that part of our brain so that any thinking is done is channeled into art. So that's why people are so crazy about art. Art is where you can express yourself, even if it's a little bit like, here is my little blog, and on my little blog is a cartoon that I drew myself. This expresses me. That's art. That's more than, the rhinoceros beetles and they're fighting, and that's skill. Art is where you're like, what about this? And what about my experience would be nice in your experience? Maybe I want to upset you. Maybe I want activism, because I think that you and me would make good partners. Maybe I want to make you happy. Maybe I sing my song because I feel happy. I want you to be happy. I want my audience to communicate with me, and the best, I want my audience to dance, right? So we can all be doing our thing. So I think that's highly important. I think it's highly important to get our brains in an empathetic, physical, artistic kind of way. I also think it's fun to have our brains be highly cerebral and strategic, I love programming. I'm a programmer, right? It's giant mathematical games on top of giant mathematical games, and in right now, in the middle of, the very advancement of civilization itself. Are mobile devices good for us? It seems like we could watch each other, be safe, watch those who are policing us, still trust that we need to police ourselves because we're still humans in bodies that want to, do all kinds of crazy shit. Um, you know, Maybe we could watch each other with implants and just all be good to each other. I don't know. I'm a back to the lander. I got, there's my tomato patch, right? There's a tomato patch. So that's what I'm all about. I'm living in a shack in Berkeley. I got another shack in Vermont. Because I like being close to the land. So I think that's important. And I think it is important to think, and I think it is important to think what's our legacy going to be, and all that other kind of stuff. And there's a lot of other stuff I thought about in my life that I really don't care about. But I think a lot, you should feel like you're doing something. You should feel like you're enjoying yourself. You should feel like you're playing the highest game you can, the best game. Feel like this is your one fucking chance in the universe to do whatever you are going to do. After you're dead, you're either going to be non-existent if everything is as it appears, or you're going to be in some other level of gameplay, and they're going to be like, all right, that's nice, now you have to go to this other thing. So this was your chance to do whatever, and you can only trust your morals, right? So whatever your parents and your society gave to you that you accepted and that you continue to accept, these are your morals. This is what we should do. You have no fucking compass except this biology that knows certain things, like don't step off cliffs, and your basic gut feeling that harming other things and killing other things is wrong because we have empathy, because we feel. So we're back to our bodies. We have to feel with other people. I have a friend in Vermont who is a physical therapist, and he's like, he's a masseuse, right? And he's like, we should be touching each other more. We should be feeling each other's pain more, right? So, and I'm a performance artist, and I like singing to people, and I, sometimes I like dance music, and sometimes I like painful music, and sometimes I like painful dance music, and I like to feel, right? And I think we all like to feel. So, to me, anyway, these are the things that are important, is how much mind-body balance can we get individually, make our own lives beautiful, and spread world peace that way, and be less, antagonistic with people around us, listen to everybody around us, and when someone says something like, oh, hey, Black Lives Matter, then you go, Black Lives Matter. Got it, right? You could say, like, that's a fucked up thing to say. And they could be like, right? And you could say, tell me more. Right? And they could say, oh, do you know that at the rates that we're getting killed, it kind of doesn't seem like Black Lives Matter to certain people? And you could be like, oh, that's fucked up. And they could say, right? And you could say, right? Right? It's really simple. There's so much pain in the world. When this person's trying to share their pain, you're like, wait a minute. I have pain. Doesn't my life matter? Like, yes. But the statement is a statement. And so we listen. Someone comes up to you and says some sort of, fascist shit. You're going to be like, really? Okay, I feel your pain. I don't know why you have that position, but tell me more, right? I have personally felt like people were telling me the most corporatist or the most racist or whatever thing, and I'll be like, really? Maybe you could tell me more. And they tell me more, and I realized it in my head. I just had them backwards. Now, I believe that most of the time people who are really racist are really racist, and people who are really corporatist are really corporatist, and that's all good. All right, let's tell the story about seeing the Marines in Berkeley. So Code Pink, we were Code Pink members. It seemed like they were doing, a bunch of grannies wearing pink, like when it was that Bush was talking about Code Red, and they're like, oh, Code Pink, right? We're old grannies who have a few truthful things to say. So they were cool. So they were like a grannies against the war. And so we were like, code pink. So we go to code pink rallies. So, at some point, the Marines have a recruiting station similar to ROTC kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure of the specifics, but they have a recruiting station close to Berkeley High, downtown Berkeley. Most towns, probably that's what they do, is get a storefront, open up, Marines, flags out front and shit. And you're like, oh, a few of the proud Marines are going to go in, right? So Berkeley was so anti-war that they said, well, the Marines are the bad guys, and they shouldn't have a recruiting station near Berkeley High. And so the city council went and did a really stupid thing, and somehow, I don't know if they passed it or whatever, but there's some language came out that the Marines were invaders, right? So we go down to the rally, we're like, well, what the fuck's going on? Code Pink said we should be here. So we go down to City Hall and Martin Luther King Jr. Park across the way, which has a skate park. So they shut down all the skate kids. I know you guys had to go skate somewhere else because we're going to have a rally here today. So then they got the Code Pinkers on the City Hall side. And then the Marines, who all came from like places like as far away as American Canyon, and apparently many had come in from even farther, to, stand for the Marines and say, well, this ain't right, right? So we go down there and we're like, I hear this person just spouting off. So I start spouting off, and someone from an org who I've worked with before, the Nonviolent Coalition, and she came up to me. She said, "You know what? You're really not helping here. You really should just shut the fuck up." Right? And I was like, "Right on, I'll do that." And because I totally got. She was like, in terms of nonviolence, it's about listening first, right? And I, this person was spouting, and she was making me so angry with like crazy shit that she was saying. It was like watching Fox News in Berkeley. I couldn't handle it. Right? So I took the advice and I shut the fuck up. And so I didn't have any Code Pink gear or any anti-Bush or any swag on me. I was walking through downtown and I saw it. And so I was dressed like a normal spud. So I walk over, so I'm like hanging out. So then I go walk over and hang out with the Marines, right? So they're all standing around, they got flags out and everything. And then, shouting a few things back and forth to the Code Pinkers. And the Code Pinkers are all yelling at us. I'm like, wait, all the old grannies are yelling at us. And I'm over here and they're yelling at me. And now I look like an asshole, right? So I look at the guy next to me and I'm like, so what's going on here? And he's like, the fucking city council said that we were invaders. And I was like, oh, that sounds not good, right? And I said, tell me more. And he goes, well, I'm a Marine and I've served. And I was taught specifically that the word invader means someone who comes to your country and opens a can of whoop ass. Now you're telling me that I'm the invader. And you're telling me that I'm the invader because we have a couple of officers in dress uniform, talking to the kids, telling them about a career. So how am I an invader? And I was like, that sounds terrible. They should remove. He goes, well, that's what we're here. There's a city council meeting tonight, and we're going to meet, and we're going to try to get them to drop this language because it's invective, right? It's terrible. So I was like, hey, man, right on. So I went and talked to the next guy. I said, what do you hear? And he told me the kind of same thing. And I said, man, that sucks. I said, man, were you in Iraq? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, what do you think about Iraq? And he goes, it was clusterfuck. I said, how so? And he's like, I said, well, do you believe in any of this? And he's like, well, it was about oil, but what the fuck, right? So, and I talked to guy after guy. Some of them were on the oil thing. Some of them were like, no, it was a straight army operation, but it's fucked up. Or I have family and there's something fucked up about it. But, we served and we don't want to be denigrated as invaders because we served. That's fucked up. And I was like, well, of course. So it was all about like, as a reasonable person, could I talk to these grannies and say, we all grew up in the same town, we're all activists. Who you want is George Bush. Who you want is Rumsfeld. Who you want is the attention of the voters who would vote for these kind of assholes. These Marines who've driven all the way around to come to Berkeley kind of have a lot of agreement with you. And they have a disagreement about framing and tactics, and I think we all do, and that's what it means to be human, right? That's what it comes to. So we think we have something to do with morals, but really it's like tactics and what camp we've put ourselves in, which is kind of ridiculous. Anyway, I just want to give a shout out about what the body and the head, and when you get too separated and you get like moral dilemmas, like we'll do what the body doesn't want to kill, the body wants to eat, so maybe we kill animals, maybe we don't, maybe we're vegetarians, I don't know, but body mind center and self community center, these are things that I've spent a lot of time working on, And a lot of the other things that I thought that I was going to work on for most of my life, I spent a lot of time working on. And worrying about what I was going to do behind an office desk, I spent a lot of time worrying about it. I don't think, I mean, sure, I made a lot of money, so maybe it's easy to say that. But I think I would have been successful as a window washer. I mean, I have spirit, and I like people, and I would, you know, I think that I could survive in a number of ways, the ways that I've chosen to survive, using a lot of programming, a lot of math. You know, that worked for me. Something else would have worked. I was a successful contractor. I also built houses and stuff. But at this point in my life, I'm looking at youth and I'm saying, well, what's the real thing that our generation would even want to say? And I would pluck something from the hippie generation, which is like, you know, just live your life and be open to love and be open to people and watch yourself and watch your community and, you know, don't worry too much about what shit costs or why you have to live in a certain place. Like maybe try living somewhere else. Maybe go off in the woods. I don't know. Anyway, peace out.